mark of the beast, and do you believe that they are gradually moving closer to the mark of the beast with ICE, immigration laws, digital IDs, all of that? Tell me what you think in the comments. We're going to take a look at this video and let me know exactly what you think. Do you believe we're slowly getting there? Mm-hmm.
A digital currency that tracks every transaction, a digital ID required to buy or sell, a crisis used to force compliance. This isn't coming. It's already being tested. And today, we're going to hear clips from author and investigative journalist Whitney Webb. And when you hear what she has to say, I need you to remember something. She's not teaching from the book of Revelation. She's not talking about prophecy. She might not even be a believer for all I know. She's simply explaining what she knows about what is actually happening in the financial world and what is coming. And without even trying to, what she describes sounds eerily to what's been written about for 2,000 years in the Bible. Not about the mark itself, but the infrastructure that makes it all possible. So let's check these clips out together. Let me know what you think in the comments as always. And hit that like button so we can reach more people with the truth. Let's check it out.
You'll have the Fed, the central bank, working with the private banks that own the Fed in the United States. The partnership between them will be the system. It's not going to be all public. It's not going to be all private. It is a partnership if you choose to use those and if you regulate them so that they have to keep their reserves at the Fed. I think it's quite clear that the way to force onboarding of a CBDC or this type of digital currency system.
So just so you know real quick, central or CDBC means Central Digital Bank Currency. Central Digital Bank Currency. It's a central digital currency. It's not in cash.
I think he means CBDC, but yeah, same idea.
Cash or in gold, but completely electronic.
Is going to be some sort of crisis, some sort of event. I think the immigration crises, any sort of refugee situation, that's going to be used to push for digital IDs. I think it's just a very easy excuse for them, a way for them to quickly manufacture consent. Because, you know, all these people, we don't know who they are. They could be criminals. They could be anybody. We have to know who everybody is. And it's going to be sold as a way to provide security to the insecurity created by the migrant crisis. So I think there's been growing awareness for some time.
Yeah, it's always going to start as something that's supposed to keep us safe, like a security measure. That's how it starts.
That there's a lot of bipartisan consensus about most of the policies of the U.S. government, like endless war, for example. And some people refer to it as the uniparty. But people also forget that too. And so what a lot of people call this the two-party model, you know, people refer to it sometimes as the left-right paradigm. But I think not a lot of people truly understand how that paradigm works. If you think about it as the left hand and right hand of the establishment, you'll have one of those hands create a problem intentionally. And then the opposing hand comes in and offers the solution. But the solution was always what the establishment wanted, but it's sold as a solution to a problem created by the other side. So it creates...
Yes, that's the book I was talking about. The True Name of God and the Hidden Agenda talks about how they will create a crisis or stage an event so that they can implement this sort of thing. Guys, check out that book in the bio. You gotta read it.
It's the illusion that the opposing force solved a problem, but in reality, the problem was manufactured by one hand of the system, and then the solution was offered by the other hand. The man that claims to have created CBDCs is a man from Barbados named Oliver Gale. He created one of the first, well, arguably the first CBDC project in the Caribbean, and then went on to have a key role in creating the Nigerian CBDC, the e-Naira. So the way the CBDC in Nigeria was set up is that in order to access the CBDC, you have to have a national identification number, which is the Nigerian digital ID project. So you have to have a digital ID in order to be able to access the Nigerian CBDC. And the way they tried to get people to onboard to the CBD system was by essentially cutting off the vast majority of the cash in circulation in Nigeria. And so despite the fact that they created these conditions to coerce people into using the CBDC, the populace resists. In the state in Nigeria and in other African countries where, you know, these sort of systems are being rolled out, the governments have abused these systems to go after journalists or other people. and violate human rights and all sorts of things. So it's not a tool for increased human rights. It's not a tool for increased inclusion. It's inherently exclusionary, and it's a surveillance tool. So if Nigeria's tactic of drastically reducing the amount of cash in circulation didn't work, then I think it's quite clear that the way to force onboarding of a CBDC is going to be some sort of crisis, some sort of event where people will be made an offer they can't refuse, essentially. Yeah. Whatever that crisis is that creates the situation where people will have, very little choice but to onboard to this new digital currency system, it could manifest in a number of ways, but regardless of how it manifests, what the narrative is going to be is that privacy is dangerous, anonymity is dangerous. Specifically, financial privacy is dangerous.
What do you think so far? Because let me recap a little bit for you. I mean, what she's saying is that you'll have the Federal Reserve working with the private banks that own the Fed. Not just public, not just private, but a partnership. And this is critical. In her digital ID, she's going to talk about how it's going to be connected to literally everything you do online. And so when the crisis comes, and she's about to tell you what it looks like, people will beg for this system. Let's keep watching.
Those are going to be the narratives that come out of this event, and that's going to be a way to force onboarding both onto digital currency that can be tracked to stop terror financing or things of that nature. And also we have to know who everybody online is, or we have to know who everybody is interacting with these systems. We need digital ID. It's very much tied up with efforts to regulate the internet. The idea is to have a government-issued ID be necessary for you.
What a genius way to get everybody to get on board is to make it required in order to access the internet. Wow.
To access the internet. And in doing so, they know not just what you're posting and saying online, they know what information you're reading online as well. But the difference is, once it's directly connected to a government-issued ID, they could prosecute you for things like publishing misinformation and all of that. And there's actually been pushes from people like former Google CEO Eric Schmidt to punish people who publish alleged disinformation, and that it's necessary to have IDs connected to social media accounts and to people's internet access as a means of facilitating those kinds of arrests or, law enforcement activity. Well, there's a couple of reasons why I think they'd want to have private banks have like a major role in this digital currency system to come. If there's a private sector entity banking you and managing your money, it's much easier for them to bank you than the federal government. So for example, if the Federal Reserve were to do a direct issue CBDC, it would be harder for them to freeze someone's bank account or debank them in any sort of significant way.
And let me remind you, they did this in Canada. I'll never forget how they froze bank accounts of the people that were those truckers, those blue-collar, regular people, middle-class workers, whenever they were protesting the fact that they did not want to take the COVID vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. They didn't want it. They wanted to work. They wanted to provide for their families. And they themselves made their choice not to get vaccinated. But the government's like, oh, no, we're not forcing you to get vaccinated. But if you don't, you can't work. And if you can't work, you can't have money to feed your family. And so what they did is they protested, and they did that huge trucker protest in Canada. And Trudeau and his people froze bank accounts, ruined lives. And I'm telling you, that's not going to be the first time they're ever going to do this. This is coming. I believe things like that were a test, a pilot for what they're going to do in the future for anyone that goes against this system.
Opposed to a private company where you have, for example, the digital dollar in the United States is also going to be a public-private model. You'll have the Fed, the central bank, working with the private banks that own the Fed in the United States. And that will be the partnership between them will be the system. Their proposed solution is to merge banks, banking regulators, and intelligence agencies as far as information sharing and analysis goes. So that's essentially having banks share your private transaction data directly with the CIA or any other U.S. intelligence agency that asks.
Just kind of like a digital fusion center, an updated version of it.
Yes. Yeah. Doing so is inherently unconstitutional. People would not consent to that if it were not for a major crisis that affects the banking sector. Oftentimes they try and pilot these solutions before they're actually implemented, and if there isn't sufficient onboarding or uptake by the public, invariably an event comes along that creates fear and panic among the public to a very significant degree, and they begin clamoring for solutions to this problem that's causing the fear and panic.
This is crazy. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Something funny is going on. I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe in the Bible? Have you heard of Revelation's Mark of the Beast? Seems like everything is just slowly getting us toward that. I don't know, but let me know what you think. And then also, don't forget to check out this book in the bio. This book came out, I think it was about a year ago, and it speaks on current digital currencies, digital IDs, FedNow. So I'm just gradually starting to see this more and more on YouTube and social media. So let me know what you guys think. And I want to know, are we getting closer to the mark of the beast? Is this what we're really coming to? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.